So welcome, Esperanza. My name is Megan Davis, and I am one of the many librarians that you have access to either online or in person at Albertsons Library. And let me, in the chat before I forget, just throw my name and email address in there. So the reason I am the one kind of in charge of this session today is because one of my roles as librarian is to work with eCampus. And usually it's with the instructional designers and the faculty members working with their online classes. But Ashley was kind enough to contact me and say, would you like to be in actual contact with our students? And I said, of course, anything I can do to help anyone get more familiar with the library, especially the library website, and all of the things that you can do with it. So I'll show you some basics, but I want to ask you, Esperanza, specifically, what questions do you have about how to use the library website or the library itself? I want to make sure I can address any concerns that you specifically have.
And so I'm just kind of curious. So I'm actually like a faculty member. I'm not a student myself.
Gotcha.
So I just want to better understand so that if it comes up with other students, I can support and guiding them or directing them. And so just
Sure.
how to best support students navigating.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to feel free to stop at any time and jump in with questions, and Ashley is going to monitor chat and things like that. But I'm going to take over. I'm going to share my screen with you right now so we can take a look at the library website. Can you see the beautiful picture of our building?
Yes.
It takes up so much space of the library website. It's a little frustrating for us. We finally switched over to the new Boise State look and feel last summer. And it's been quite an interesting year and learning where things are amongst ourselves. But yeah, if you scroll down past the picture of our building, that's where all of the good stuff is, other than on the right-hand side, that orange button that says hours. That is always a great place, both for faculty and students, to find out when the building is open. You're going to hear, if you don't already know, that we have tons of online resources for students and faculty, but we do still have stuff in our building, and we have people in our building even now. So our hours are located here, and we will be starting our summer hours next week. So we'll still be open. During COVID, we've been closed Saturdays so they can do a deep clean of the building, but we are open Sunday through Friday. And in the summer, we'll be open 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sunday through Friday. So that's a good place to find hours all throughout the year. And then, like I said, if you scroll down past the picture, you'll get to the good stuff. These first two squares here are what I consider the most important. They're how to get into most of our resources. But I will point out a few other things. Students these days especially want to know how to reserve our study room. So I'll come down to that because there's an online reservation system now, an online calendar. You can see when rooms are available and things like that. I'll mention course reserves since you're faculty, but make sure that most important things get covered: how to find our journal article databases. So that's this articles and databases box. We put Academic Search Premier with its own search box right at the top here. That's what we tend to start a lot of our, especially freshman students off with, or new students to BSU. It's a great multidisciplinary database, so it has a little bit of everything. We've got a couple of our other most used databases linked right here. ProQuest Central is another great multidisciplinary database. It has a lot of newspapers in it. JSTOR, if you haven't heard of that, is a great historical database. It's another database that covers a wide variety of subject areas, but it's not going to have 2021 articles. It's going to have historical stuff. There may be some 2020, 2019 stuff in there, but for example, I know we have a math journal in there where we have the full text back to the 1600s. So if anyone is ever looking for older stuff, JSTOR is a great database for that. And like I said, it's multidisciplinary. Web of Science focuses on science, but is not just science. There's a wide variety of things in there as well. And a lot of students will come to us already a little bit familiar with Google Scholar and how to use that. And that's just kind of a way that Google has pulled out journal article results and things like that from the web. So you won't get all the just regular websites like you would in regular Google when you do a search in Google Scholar. What most students don't know is that we have hooked in with Google, said, well, here's this full text that we're paying $3 million a year for. Can we hook in our full text results to your results in Google Scholar? And they said yes. So have you used Google Scholar before, Esperanza?
Yeah, I have. I didn't know that though, so that's
Yeah,
cool.
and so on campus computers, it's already set up to recognize that you're affiliated with Boise State. If you are not, if you're using a mobile device like a laptop or an iPad or something, or you're off campus at home, it takes a little bit of setup. And if you go to settings, and any of the librarians and library staff in the building know how to do this. So anybody comes to us with questions about how to set up Google Scholar, we all know how to do this. But in the settings, you go, there's a link that says library links, and you would type in Boise State. It's already checked on mine because I've been working from home. So they would check the checkbox there. And then if I did a search, you'll start to see these find it at Boise State links here, and that hooks in. It would ask me if I'm not already logged in to log in with my Boise State credentials, and then it'll give me the full text online button. So it's pretty seamless when you set it up. And you should only have to set it up once per device. It should remember. So that's a pretty cool thing. So a lot of students may, if you ask them if they use Google Scholar, they'll say yes, but a lot of them don't know how in that full text that we're paying for that we want them to have access to. So that's something they can come to the library for help with. Let me back up here a bit. So those are some of our most used article databases, but we have over 350. And so what we've got down here is this list, alphabetical list of all of our databases, which is quite a lot to roll through, unfortunately. It is not our ideal situation. We're trying to figure out what we can do within the WordPress backend to make it a little more user-friendly, but it's either kind of scroll through the entire list of databases, or once you've learned which database you're looking for, I can go ahead and type in something like Web of Science and get to it from, it'll limit and just push down the list just to those that are related. Or I can kind of, we're also working to add like keywords. We haven't really done it yet, but we're working on that for the future. So if I typed in education, I'm going to pull in not just the ones that have education as part of their name or title, but if there are some other there are some weirdly named databases out there that you would not know what was in them if you didn't. So for example, here's one, Eric. It just goes by Eric, but if you're in the know, it's Education Resources Information Center, right? So we've got some weird databases like that, and we're working to make it more user-friendly. But right now, this is kind of what we're stuck with. But you can scroll that entire list of our databases. Important information about pretty much all of our databases for both faculty and students to know. For the vast majority of them, they are available 24/7 online. Everyone uses their, no exceptions, everyone uses their Boise State username and password to get into them from off campus. On campus, it should recognize you. But off campus, you may have to put in your Boise State username and password. There are very few databases, I'm talking maybe like 5 out of 300 or so, that are so very specialized. They have their own username and password. But that information will be kind of with the title of the database when you click on it, or will be available from one of the subject guides that I'll talk about in a few minutes. So that's a very rare situation. Most of them, BSU username and password will get you in. It's important for us to tell students, make sure they know that we don't have the full text of every single newspaper, journal article that's ever been published. I mean, Harvard and Yale don't have the full text of everything, so we certainly don't. But we are paying like about $3 million a year for as much full text as we can get available. So let me kind of show you, probably just as a refresher, kind of the ways to find full text. I'm just going to pick one of these searches that's already been done. So this is the Academic Search Premier Database. It's kind of confusing. A lot of students will come to us and say, I was searching in an EBSCO database and you helped me get back to where I was or whatever. Unfortunately, EBSCO is not the name of just one database, but they make it confusing because they put their logo nice and big over here, and you kind of have to go searching for the name of the database. So EBSCO is a provider of interfaces. So we've got about 30 or 40 different databases that look like this because we access them through EBSCO. So on the one hand, it's nice because you learn how to search and learn where things are located in this search interface. And that transfers over to 30 or 40 other databases automatically, those skills. Unfortunately, again, like I said, it can be confusing to know which database you're in. You can actually search multiple or all of them. If you wanted, you could search all of the databases we have through EBSCO. This is the whole list. That's usually not super helpful because a lot of them are very subject specific. But so I've just done a basic search here. Most of our databases, you can use quotation marks to denote you're searching an exact phrase. So this is only going to bring me back results with the phrase organizational communication, those two words listed in that order. So that's a technique that some students know, but a lot of students don't, and that works pretty much in all of our databases. My capital and here is just kind of a habit. There are a few of our databases that require your connecting terms like and or not to be capitalized. And then the rest just don't care. So just by default, I always do it in caps. But you could do it in most of our databases without capitalization. And so I've got a phrase connected to another search term here. If I wanted, I can add in more search terms. I can add in author name, all kinds of stuff here. I have lots of options. And then I've got my results. Most of our databases will give results in kind of what I call Google order or relevance order, based on, it's what the database is giving you based on special algorithms that usually include the number of times your search terms appear. So for example, the more times the phrase organizational communication appears in the article or the abstract or the title, the higher up the list it'll be. But there's a whole lot of other secret sauce in those algorithms that we don't know about. But it's really the computer deciding based on all I've put in that search box, which will show up first. We do have a few databases where the default is that the most recently published items appear at the top of the list and they get older. And a lot of our databases, you can change how the list is sorted. But most of them by default, it's that relevance. So to see, hopefully their search terms in bold, both in the article title, in the abstract, that sort of thing. For some reason, the image icon is broken, but normally next to this find it link, if I make that a little bigger, there's a little Bronco bee kind of image. I don't know why it's not working in that database right now. That's beyond my pay grade. But that is one way to find the full text. A lot of times, if I look at like my example number 2 here, there's a direct link to that PDF, or there may be a direct link to the HTML. If those direct links are not there, that's when you use that find it button. And it opens a new tab, and that's going to tell me whether or not we have it. And that find it link or find it button appears across our 300 databases. So that's a very important link to know about. So this is what I call the stat page in the middle. So it gives me the citation of the article I was looking at in the database. And then it says no electronic access is available for this item. It really should just say no access is available immediately or something like that. Because if we had it in print, it would tell us we have it in print here. So it's kind of a little misleading when it says, it should just say no access. But if it's something that you or the student wants, we do have an interlibrary loan system where we will go to other libraries to get that for you. So that's what this big blue button here, request item through Interlibrary Loan. Have you ever used Interlibrary Loan before, Esperanza? It is a great system. It's a little bit slower right now because we're still in COVID times, but it is working. Journal articles requested like this will come electronically as PDF files. In normal times, I would say anywhere from a couple of hours to like a day from when you request it. I haven't requested anything during the pandemic, but I think it is a little bit slower. But the nice thing, so back on this page, I just clicked the request item through Interlibrary Loan. It recognized that I was already logged in. Again, Interlibrary Loan, you will use your BSU username and password. You don't have to set up a new username and password. The first time you click on an Interlibrary Loan link, it will ask you to fill out your contact information. And that's especially important for our distance students because we will, if they want books from our collection or another library's collection and they're more than 50 miles away from Boise State, we will mail it to them. But they have to designate in the contact information that they're a distant student and things like that. But it's already filled out this form for me with all of the information about that article. There are a couple of things that I look for. There's this not wanted after date that's usually set a couple months in the future. So if I need it sooner, this is something I would change. If I'm willing to accept it in a language other than English, but I usually just leave the default. And then if I just hit submit request, that's all I have to do. And I will get an email when it's available and it will link me back into here. And I don't have any, but under this view menu, there's a link as electronically received articles. And there would be information here. There would be a PDF file that you can download and do whatever you want with. We don't put limits, especially on faculty, until you start abusing the system, which we have had some faculty do. But I would say if you're doing like 10 a day, that might be, we might have a conversation about maybe we need to subscribe to certain journals that we're not currently subscribing to and that sort of thing. But doesn't tend to be a problem, but we want it to be used, but not abused is kind of what I would say about the system, but it really is great. We will really try to get whatever we can. It's hard to get physical items out of like China or some of those countries and get them mailed to us, but we can get a lot of things electronically from other libraries and things like that. So that's a great service that especially students don't know about, and students can access it just like faculty can access it. So let me get out of that. Let me see, this should be what I call a happy page. I like to show people both the happy page and the sad page. So this time I clicked on the find it button for one I knew we had because there's a direct, normally I would just click the PDF full text link, but I wanted to use this as an example for the happy page with the find it button. And instead of saying, you know, that message, no electronic access available for this item, we've got this big blue full text online button. All I have to do is click on that. And I've got the PDF over here. Sometimes it'll take you out to the journal webpage. Everyone looks a little bit different. I usually tell students just look around the page, look for a full text link or PDF link. There's usually both available. And go from there. But it should take you to some form of the full text. So I can click on that. Download it, save it, email it, print it, do what I need to do with it from there. So that's kind of what Academic Search Premier and a lot of our EBSCO databases look like. Other databases look different, but they all basically work the same. If I go to Web of Science, it's going to look different for sure. But I can still look around. There's going to be a search box for me to type in my search. It may have different filtering features, like I didn't use it, excuse me, but in Academics Premier, there are some filters, and one of the ones that students like the most is there's a peer-reviewed checkbox. So you can limit your search in Academic Search Premier just to peer-reviewed stuff. And so a lot of faculty members will say, I only want you to focus on peer-reviewed journal articles. And so that's an easy way in some of our databases to get rid of the newspaper articles, popular magazine articles, that sort of thing. Not all of our databases do that. Web of Science is an example that doesn't have that easy checkbox, but that's because all of the journals coming through, or the vast majority of the journals coming through Web of Science, are those peer-reviewed journals. There may be article types within those journals that are not peer-reviewed, things like book reviews, letters to the editor, editorials. But if it looks like an article within Web of Science, chances are it's coming from a peer-reviewed source. And we always tell students when we're teaching them, you can always Google the title of the journal. All going to have websites, and they usually will tell you whether it's peer-reviewed or refereed. We do have a database that you can look up journals to see whether or not they're peer-reviewed. So we've got options to help students figure out what's peer-reviewed and what's not. And we've got videos that I'll show you to help students with things like that. Let me just do a quick search in Web of Science just to show you what another database looks like. This is a database where the default is they give most recent stuff first. So we've got stuff from the future. Students always laugh when I show them. It's not June yet. This is an example of a database that doesn't have a lot of those full text PDF links. There's some free full text from publisher buttons, but in Web of Science, you're mostly going to have to use the Find It button. This is what that icon should have looked like in Academic Search Premier. So this is what it looks like in all of our databases. So if there's not that free full text from publisher, there is this option over here. A lot of our databases have those different filtering options. You can select different publication years or ranges of years. We've had a lot of faculty in the past, depending on the subject. Like I know, especially in our health sciences and in our nursing, someone might say, I only want you to look at sources from the last 5 years or something like that, because treatments change and technology changes and things like that. So most of our databases have ways for our students to specify and narrow down their results. They're just all a little bit different. So again, I would use that Find It button to see whether or not we have full text. So that Find It button is really a crucial point for students in terms of being able to figure out whether or not we have the full text of something. Of course, I like the sad page. Let's go back here. Any general questions about databases? If I get back to.
I like how there's the filter options and such, but I don't have any immediate questions.
Sure.
But I'm definitely learning stuff for myself too, so it's helpful.
Yeah, so this articles and databases box right here, that's how you get into all of those databases. Well, that's one way, the main way. I will show you another way. In terms of finding out what books we have, that's for this second one, which is going to take you into our one version of our library catalog called Worldcat Discovery. I'm just going to do one of these searches. Now, Worldcat Discovery, there's a few things to know about that. One, that you might guess by the name Worldcat, is it is not limited just to what we have in our Boise State collection. It is a worldwide library catalog. Some people like that, some people don't like that. But it's nice to be able to see what we don't have and who close by might have it, because again, we do have that interlibrary loan option, and we will get books, we will get book chapters. It's harder. Journal articles and books and book chapters are the easiest things to get through interlibrary loan. It is harder to get things like media, so DVDs, audio recordings, audio recordings. A lot of libraries are hesitant to lend those out to other libraries. So it's a lot harder to get that type of stuff, but definitely books and book chapters we can get. We have a growing collection of ebooks, so electronic books. It's got to be over, I don't know if it's over 30,000 now. I know it's over 20,000. It kind of changes. Publish, take stuff in, take stuff out, and put stuff in our collections of ebooks. So it's kind of confusing numbers wise, but it's a growing collection. And so again, an important feature of the catalog is to use the filters over on the left-hand side. I mentioned that this is a worldwide catalog, but everything that we own will pop to the top automatically. So you can see here, this is an item that's held by Boise State University, Albertsons Library. If you want to get rid of other, you can see by default, it's over here on the left-hand side, it says libraries worldwide, and that's checked. If I wanted, I could limit to Boise State stuff and get rid of that. I mentioned that this was the place to come and search for books and physical items in the library. It does search a couple of our databases. It is not my go-to for where I search for articles or for where I recommend students search for articles. If they already have kind of a workflow where they know about Worldcat Discovery and they know it's available in there, then I would leave them alone and let them do what they're comfortable with. But I don't teach this as a place to find journal articles. They make it more confusing to find out what we have in full text and what we don't. And so we've got a lot more specialized, those 300 databases back on that other page that are better for that. So a lot of times I will, just to get rid of stuff I'm not looking for, limit my search to books. And you can see if I wanted to, I could even limit it to print books or ebooks. So if I limit to ebooks, we've got one here, and I'll wait. Sometimes the button will show up here. Sometimes you have to actually click on the page or click on the title. This one is giving me a weird, yeah, sometimes there are problems. And if students come to you with, this library page is doing something weird, send them on to us. We'll figure out what's going on. I'm very good at picking problem examples here. Here's what it normally looks like. So if I go back to, let's see, just the normal, like I said, normally the button will show up here, and that's what I can click on. So this one shouldn't be problematic. I contact a lot of behind the scenes publishers and third-party software programs, so problems happen. Let's see, this looks like I could view a PDF if I wanted. Let's see if I could view, let me pick ones more normal. Here's one from one of our biggest ebook vendors. So this is a pretty common interface. So in most cases, people can read ebooks online through the browser or download it to a device like an iPad or something like that. There are usually limits on how much can be saved in PDF form or how much can be printed, and you'll see that kind of over here. But if I go into read it online, the nice thing about the ebooks is that you can do a keyword search and it searches the full text of the entire book. So when you're searching our library catalog for books, it's usually only searching the book title, author information, publisher information, usually like a one paragraph little subject blurb, kind of a summary paragraph, and maybe the table of contents for nonfiction. That's what the catalog is searching. It is not searching the full text of the entire book. So for print books, if you're not sure, you have to go up to the shelf, pull it off the shelf, look through the index to see if it has what you're really looking for. If you click into one of these ebooks, I could do a keyword search and it will search within the full text of the entire book. Let me see. I'm just going to type this word is going to show up a bunch of times in this book. 62 times, but you can see it'll show you where and kind of give you some context, and then you can click into those sections. You can also just look at kind of browse through the entire table of contents. If they've given kind of section headings, you'll see those. You can see the index, that sort of thing. So like I said, our ebook collection is a growing collection. If I go back, we are going to limit to print books. So you'll see for our print books that are held by Boise State University Albertsons Library, underneath that, it'll tell you whether or not it's checked in or checked out. It'll tell you the location. So this is up on the 4th floor with all the sciencey stuff. It'll give you the call number if you wanted to come in and get it yourself. If I didn't make clear kind of at the beginning, the library building is open, currently open for students and staff and faculty. Kind of diminished hours for the summer, like I talked about. And up until next Monday, we have been requiring Bronco card IDs to get in the building. So we've locked the inner set of doors that you can release it with your Bronco card. We are taking that, as far as I know, unless things change in the last minute, we are taking that restriction off as of next Monday, so after commencement. So it used to be that community members, because we are a public university, we allow community members to come in, but we restricted that over COVID. They had to make an appointment, and so we could let them in the building and that sort of stuff. But that restriction should be going away as of next Monday. So all the doors will be unlocked. You can be in there all day, whatever. So you can come in. If you don't want to come in, you can put a hold on a book and either come in just to the circulation desk to pick it up, or we're doing curbside checkouts, kind of like the public libraries. We're utilizing, if you are familiar with where the library building is, kind of in the quad on campus, on the other side of the liberal arts building, there's a parking lot, and there was a nicely renovated parking station there for an attendant, but all the parking is like automated now. So it's not staffed. So when we know someone is coming in to pick a book or, books up, we will go out there, and that's where you can pick stuff up from our curbside pickup. So that will be an option. If I go into one of these records, you'll usually see a little more information. So there's this view description. So it's giving me just basic, very basic, probably because this is an older book. Here's what volume 1 is about, and here's what volume 2 is about. In most cases, fiction, we will have at the very least a table of contents. And like I said, we usually also have another little summary paragraph, but this is an older book that we don't have that information for. You can put a hold or request, whether it's on the shelf or if it's checked out. So we've got this hold/request button here. I'm going to log in again with my Boise State username and password. I changed my password like a week and a half ago, and it still catches me sometimes. No, I don't want to save. I got to move you out of the way. So there are a variety of type of requests. The basic hold is if the item is checked out to someone else. This means we'll put you on the list, and then you'll be notified to be next to check it out. Like I said, we will send stuff to distant students and faculty members, I assume, if you live more than 50 miles away from campus. The on-shelf hold is if it's for something on the shelf, but you don't want to be the one to go up to the shelf for whatever reason. We don't care why. We'll get it off the shelf for you. So that's what that option is. And then you'll do the on-shelf hold if you want to come in to the circulation desk to pick it up. You'll do curbside pickup if you want us to get it off the shelf and bring it out to you. Did you have a question?
And so for the distance one, do they have to like pay for shipping, or is that free entirely?
It should be free. Both, well, they're not going to have to pay to get it. I believe it shouldn't cost them anything to send it back to us.
Okay. Cool.
99% sure about that. Normally, in normal times, for faculty and staff, we have delivering stuff to offices or like departmental mailboxes and things like that. Right now, we're not doing that delivery option. So you would just do the curbside pickup or the on-shelf hold if you want to come into the building and pick it up yourself. So those are the kind of the different options. The journal article requests, these are for ones that you come across. We've moved some of our print journals to Pioneer Hall, which is another building on campus. And so we have to have someone go over and turn it into a PDF, and then we'll get that to you or students or something else that's on the shelf. If you don't want to come in and pick up one of our print journals, we can scan that for you. So that's what that last one is for. So you would just pick whichever of these options is appropriate and go from there. If it's something that we don't have, so if I go back and take this off, I'm going to go other Idaho libraries. So the results will be shown in order first of everything that we own based on your search term, and then other Idaho libraries, both public and university libraries within the state, and then it'll go to outside of Idaho. That's kind of how it's ranked. So if I find one that we don't own, let's do this. So here's one that says held by other Idaho libraries. If that is the case, or if it says held worldwide, instead of that hold/request button that we had, there will be a request item through Interlibrary Loan button. So that's how you can get the physical books. Okay. Questions about the catalog?
No, I don't think I have any other questions right now.
Okay. A few other things that I do want to show you. Take the long way back. The journals page, sometimes students can get confused between this page and the articles and databases page. The journal page is for when they come to you or to us with a citation. So they know the journal that they're looking for and they want to see if they can find this particular article, or they want to browse, what is in the most recent issue of a particular journal. And so this is one where we would search by journal title. So let me pick one of these. Of course, I'll do one I know we have. And this page is a little problematic because if you put in a typo, it'll just tell you we don't have it. It doesn't figure out, oh, did you mean? It's not as smart as Google to figure out, oh, did you mean such and such? So that's the first thing I tell people, if you get 0 results, make sure spelling is correct. So I searched for Journal of Academic Librarianship, and we have one entry for this. It tells me here that it's a peer-reviewed journal. So this is another place to find out whether the source I'm looking at is peer-reviewed or not. And then these are all links to, some of them are links to different databases that we have for different time periods. So I also tell students it's really important because you would probably have the citation right in front of you. You know what year you're looking for. Pay attention to these dates before you just go clicking willy-nilly on one of these links. Because if I'm looking for something in 1980, this link is not going to work. This link is not going to work. If I'm looking for something in 2021, this is the only link that's going to work, or these two down here. It'll also tell you what we have in microform. So that's old school microfilm that you put on a reel, or these flat kind of photographic images. So that's older stuff, usually like the 70s and older. But we do have machines in the building that'll turn that into PDF, and you can email it to yourself or print it out. And it'll also tell you if we have some in our print collection. And that would take me to the catalog record, and it would show me the call number. So I know it's up on the 4th floor in the Z's. That's where all the library science stuff is. And it'll tell me which we have up there. But other than that, I would pick the appropriate link, go in. Again, I tell students the page is probably gonna look different from journal to journal. You just look around. There's usually gonna be a way to narrow it down by year. I could do, for this particular set of databases, I could actually do a search within this publication that if I click on this, it brings me to a search box where it's automatically put in the journal title, and I would just add in my search terms. So if I know I wanted to search this journal, but I want to search on a topic, I can do it this way, or I can just narrow down, this is the issue I need. Here is the list of all of those articles in that one particular issue. So that's kind of the difference between the journals page and the article databases page, but it can be a little confusing. Let's see, that opened in a new tab. Another really useful page is the subject guides page, because we recognize, we've got over 300 databases. We know it can be overwhelming for students and faculty. So we've got these subject guides that are based on all the departments and programs that we have here on campus. So I'm just going to pick one. And they all look a little bit different, but they should all have kind of a list of the top databases recommended for that. So I've clicked on environmental studies. So, here's a list of like 5 or 6 different databases that we know are going to have articles related to environmental studies. We're not saying that these are the only ones. We're saying these are ones to start with. This is a good starting place. And this particular guide also gives examples of encyclopedias, government resources. There's a page for a specific class. Maybe they have a specific library assignment associated with it. And so we've got a guide for that. Other than that, there may be, because environmental studies is one of those interdisciplinary topics, it looks like they've linked out to other subject guides that are kind of related to environmental studies. So that's what these are. But if students are struggling with where to start their search, we usually ask them about their topic and try to find a subject guide that's related to that and get them to that list of the top databases to at least give them a good place to start. And they also have the contact information for the librarian. That's kind of the person responsible for that area. So I'm also the librarian for the biology department. And so all of the biology guides, you'll see my photo and my contact information. And so it's just another way to make sure you're getting the help that you need. So there's a lot of those subject guides, but we also have some that are more kind of, how do I do stuff in the library? And those are kind of hiding. The default when you click on that subject guides button from the library's homepage is it'll take you to the subject guides list. But if you go to all guides, you'll see we've got one for students that are in our library badges program that's related to UF 200 and 100. We've got our kind of FAQ page. We've got citation help. We've got how-to videos, which we also have linked on the library's homepage, I believe. But this is a good place to find. So these are all little tutorial videos, just a couple minutes long, on what does it mean when something is peer-reviewed? How do you find an article in Academic Search Premier? How do I use the catalog to find books? Scholarly versus non-scholarly resources, finding and evaluating rapidly changing scholarly information, using Google's advanced search, all of that kind of stuff. We've got videos on that, copyright basics, citation stuff. A lot of those more general library things can be found on the list of all of the guides that we have. Course reserves in terms of faculty wise, we've gone away from, we used to provide on our server system access. We would save digital copies of articles and book chapters and things like that for faculty. and it would reside on our server, and there would be a separate login for students, and it was all very confusing and cost us a lot of money. So now what we do is we either provide you with the link. If it's something like an article that's coming from one of our databases, we'll provide you with the link to include in your online course. If it is something that we have in print and it falls under fair use, then we can help you with that. We will scan a chapter or section of a book and give you the PDF to put in your online course. We'll kind of work with you to figure out online versions of things that we have in print. And as we get back to normal times, we will continue to have entire copies of books on a physical reserve that students come in and check out and use within the library for a couple of hours at a time. We will continue that, but it's kind of on halt right now. I don't know if we're going to ramp that back up this summer or wait until the fall. That's kind of an ongoing situation. But we can help you if you have things for your class that you want to get that are from the library and you want to make sure they're online. We can help you with that. And so there's information on this page about how to put those requests in, or you can just email me and I'll make sure you get in contact with the right person. So students these days, generally, the only reserve students now know about should be the physical ones. And that's, like I said, we've put that on hold for the last year because we have been disinfecting books in between uses. And that's kind of hard to do when you are only checking something out for 2 hours. And, you know, they were doing studies about how long things should sit and wait. And it's a whole big mess that I won't bore you with, but we should be picking back up with our physical reserve collection sometime this summer or the fall. Again, another link to some of those how-to videos that I mentioned. Reserving rooms. So this is really popular with students. We've got a variety of type of rooms that can be reserved. We've got individual study rooms. We've got group study rooms. We've got rooms specifically for faculty, staff, and grad students, so you can like check out a key for longer periods of time. The group study rooms and individual study rooms are not lockable, that sort of thing, but these ones are. We've got a nursing mother's room. We've got a recorded music room. We've got our video production suite. This is one room that we have that has a video camera. You either automatically, I don't know if we keep the camera in there now, or when you check out the key to the video production suite, they send the camera up with you, but you can get a tripod. There's got a computer with all of the programs on there to edit videos. There's a green screen in there. There's a system where you can set up a teleprompter in there. So that can be checked out by students or staff or faculty for a couple of hours at a time. So if you click on any of these, it will take you to the online reservation system. It'll tell you, you've got to use your BSU email address. Rooms can be reserved a week in advance, 2 time slots a week for 2 or 3 hours at a time, or less if you need it. There's more information there. There's usually pictures. Most of the rooms have whiteboards. Some of the bigger group study rooms have a kind of a monitor set up in there. But you would come down to the calendar and these are the different rooms, and you'll see the red means it's not available. Someone's already checked it out. The green means it's available. So you could select that and reserve it for yourself. If you click on that, it'll say, I want it until 4. I would submit my time, that sort of thing. Pretty easy to do these days. So we've got a number of rooms, a number of different capacities, number of different features in the rooms, and you can find all of that information on the reserve rooms page. There's some FAQs down here, that sort of thing. We have a growing collection of streaming media. So we've got streaming video, streaming audio, and these are some of the different databases that contain those videos. And a lot of them allow us to help faculty like make clips that you can embed in your online courses, that sort of thing. So if you need help with any of that, we can help with that. That's some of the big stuff. It's kind of our news. The other other than these kind of big blocks that are the main part of the library page, up here, there is a few more resources. You can get information about the different collections we have. You can contact us. I don't know if you noticed that on most of our pages, as you kind of click on the page or scroll around, it's not showing up on my, oh, there it is. My screen is too big. This little blue pop-up box with a kind of text bubble. If you click on that, you can chat in real time with one of our librarians that's staffing our online chat service. And right now, that is available, I would say, from about 9 a.m. until 3 p.m.
Yeah, I think when you hovered it, it showed like Monday through Friday,
That would be
9 to
smart.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, right
That's
now,
cool.
whenever there's a librarian on the reference desk, we also have chat staffed, and that will continue through the summer. But I believe our hours for chat will be a little bit shorter. I think we're doing 10 to 4 Monday through Friday. If you click on this and it's not available as a chat, it should let you email us, and then we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But that pop-up should come up on most of our library pages, or you can also get, if you click on the contact us page, you can click on chat with us. You can text us. You can get to our FAQ page. You can contact the different librarians responsible for the different subject areas if you've got a question, because if you're coming to me with questions about accountancy, I'm probably going to direct you to Heather because she is the expert in those databases, and some of them are really weird. So we have kind of those expert people. You can explore, there's more stuff in the using the library, information on how long different groups of people can check out items, that sort of thing. Over here on the side, more information about Interlibrary Loan. If you want to request a librarian do an instruction session for your class, whether it's in person or online. We've done a lot of Zoom instruction, as has everyone over the last year. So you can request that here or just email the librarian responsible for that area. There's information about our Maker Lab. I don't know if you know about our Maker Lab. The big feature is our 3D printers, but it's also got a lot of other stuff going on. There's a sewing machine, there's all kinds of stuff. Right now, you basically set up an appointment, and they'll either help you remotely or a time for you to come in. It's not only during the semester, it would just be open for anyone to come in. And if there's people available to help, you could do it right then, or you can set up an appointment and that sort of thing. And we have different workshops. But this page will give you all that information about what you can do and whether it's online or in person these days. So that's available. We have under research support, we have help. A lot of this is more oriented. So knowing what rights you have as the author of a journal article or a book or something like that. Data management, I am part of the data management team, and we help people that are going up for a grant, like an NSF grant or something like that, where they have to write a data management plan, talking about how they're going to take care of their data through their research project. We help with that. How to manage your online professional presence. ScholarWorks is our Boise State University institutional repository. So we try to collect copies of articles that our faculty and staff and students publish and that sort of thing, and put it in our institutional repository and make it available when possible, based on copyright stuff, to have it widely available to the general public outside of Boise State, so we can get more eyes on your papers and things like that. So that's all under research support. So there's a lot of stuff to explore throughout the library site, but I would say kind of those, at least kind of 4 of these boxes are probably the most important, 4 or 5 of them. So that's how you get to most stuff within the library's website. Questions? I threw a lot of stuff at you.
Yeah. No, I don't have any immediate questions. I like the idea of like having you all potentially present to class, just because I'm not like a professor, but I am teaching a class in the fall for like kind of how to be successful at Boise State, and like I was a student myself, and like I'm learning a lot of new stuff that I wish I would have known. So
Yeah.
I like
We can
I
help with that. We can help your students.
awesome. But no, this was really helpful. I appreciate you going over everything in detail, and I definitely feel more familiar with the tabs, and I probably should and want to like explore myself just to get familiarized with it.
Yeah. And you've got, I put my email address in the chat. Don't hesitate to contact me or get on the general library chat, and who one of our librarians, it may be me, it may be someone else, will get in touch with you, or stop in the building if you're around. We're there. Yeah. However, contact us however you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Mhm.